Let us execute an immediate, sweeping analytical vector shift away from high-profile courtroom warfare, weaponized statutory liability loops, and the corporate conspiracies of Texas legal empires, and plunge straight into the high-octane, calculation-heavy tracking grids of corporate travel containment zones, weaponized professional networking traps, and the fiercely protective, dangerously fragile world of an ambitious corporate asset running a raw tactical survival loop. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored, panic-slicked parameters of an intense luxury executive retreat, exploring the lethal analytical parameters of a devastating, trust-shattering deception matrix with The Business Trip, the exceptional, pulse-pounding psychological thriller and breakout suspense masterpiece engineered by the rising sovereign of corporate noir, complex white-collar secrets, and high-velocity relational friction, Jessie Garcia. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroads where an ambitious primary professional asset running an unyielding safety loop, a calculating, manipulative team of rival corporate executive assets running a high-stakes proximity tracking and career extraction routine, and an absolute defense against an encroaching historical blackmail ledger collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid. If you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn psychological thrillers where an endangered, hyper-observant female protagonist must navigate an absolute maze of rigged corporate expense accounts, corrupt HR investigation standoffs, and a deadly ring of active personal frame-ups while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised luxury hotel ecosystem, where an analytical mind uses deep behavioral profiling, calculating boardroom suite boundaries, and absolute emotional stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory executioner asset, weaponizing institutional authority, and where the author utilizes an incandescent, ambitious corporate climber goes on an exclusive out-of-town business trip, only to discover her colleagues have engineered a lethal trap to frame her for a massive financial crime, diagnostic routine, to test our hero's structural limits, this book is engineered to lock you in. Garcia completely dominates the high-precision corporate jeopardy meets suffocating hotel captivity puzzles dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating domestic paranoia, and heavy detective depth popularized by genre varks like Gillian Flynn, Frida McFadden, Lucy Foley, and B.A. Paris, while treating realistic corporate travel logistics, complex office politics alignment arcs, and protective high-density professional extraction grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile, calculation-heavy baseline of our central legendary powerhouse asset, operating under a severe calculation-heavy handicap of intense professional blackmail exposure, systemic workplace isolation logs, and a hyper-visible targeting canvas within a major multinational corporations database. Behind our protagonists' rigorous business travel footprints, defensive conversational shields, and sharp observation metrics lies an intricate matrix of hidden faction allegiances, deeply buried high society friction, and sharp high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Her collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight following a high-stakes past timeline promotion battle, her entire analytical focus strictly consumed by monitoring sudden threat vectors from an active, unseen corporate predator, parsing complex behavioral shifts from corrupt wealthy handlers, and shielding her vulnerable professional sanity node from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless elite cleanup offensive. The spark ignites when an unexpected high-frequency structural anomaly breaches her active scanning perimeter, an invitation to an exclusive high-density corporate retreat hosted behind the fortified private security grids of a remote luxury resort. As the midnight clock flatlines and a prominent company board member is registered as an active liability on the floorboard blueprints, the resort's defensive automated perimeters lock down completely, trapping a select group of highly competitive, toxic executive suspect assets inside a localized psychological testing chamber. Behind the firm's pristine corporate responsibility facade and elite financial metrics lies an intricate matrix of systemic exploitation, a history of targeted career liquidations, and a cold, calculation-heavy embezzlement archive. As the hostile internal investigation phases enter an increasingly lethal terminal tier across a ticking clock timeline, the unauthorized discovery of hidden corporate server records reveals that her invitation was an explicit systemic execution order. The standard boundaries of polite professional etiquette and peaceful corporate compliance protocols crumble, and our central protagonist run completely out of standard diplomatic escape vectors. She is thrust directly into an active, invisible war behind the penthouse suite doors, where deceptive partners masking their true tracking coordinates and a ruthless shadow network launch aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress her survival files.
The tactical parameters instantly explode as their historical and survival warfare turns completely active, transforming the sleek minimalist conference halls, dark hotel bars, and private fortified residential suites into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Our protective, hyper-vigilant heroine is forced to deploy her massive intuitive tradecraft, elite behavioral mapping skills, and raw physical stamina to preserve her focus before her adversary's relentless calculation-heavy proximity containment phase permanently deletes her boundaries. The threat factor remains purposeful and resolute, determined to deploy deep digital evidence manipulation loops, continuous professional gaslighting, and persistent dominance to shatter her defense, only to realize her hardened survival protocols and shifting counter-narratives match their opponent's raw tactical speed step for step. Every midnight interrogation breakthrough, every silent choice to stand off against an encroaching adversary behind standard architectural barriers, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at her reliance on original peaceful rules. What follows is an exceptional, high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the Predator Network's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as Jessie Garcia reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial internal audit or managing an invasive group alibi. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of individual dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of corporate manipulation and psychopathic supremacy. While our central characters smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fiercely protective, absolute web of dark possessive loyalty around their building alliance, a brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes evidentiary breakthroughs shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that deep-seated obsession has tracked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending locked grid trap and permanently secure her sanctuary, our resilient protagonist must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of her final boundary lines. It is a psychological thriller, corporate espionage noir, business travel mystery, high-velocity contemporary puzzle masterpiece that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one uncovered expense report triggers a fatal hotel room showdown energy, where a sudden pause during an active franchise tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes standoff confrontation, or a heavy, possessive realization that an elite intelligence operative has completely mapped your personal coordinates carries massive structural weight. Garcia writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, perfectly capturing the heavy, oppressive atmosphere of a private executive vault before a major corporate takeover, and the distinct, subtle scent of polished mahogany, expensive hotel linens, cold printer toner, dark office adrenaline, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this contemporary standalone marvel into elite area is the author's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes relationship dynamics and genuine protective tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable, superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the complex modern corporate and high society underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute, jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total, hard-earned advancement to their horizon. The Business Trip is the definitive, pro-level upgrade your high-stakes contemporary thriller and intense asset suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unputdownable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell with your network to rewrite the data. So, secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the fleet.